Hi aspirants, welcome to our weekly current affairs discussion for polity and international relations. The first topic for today from polity is Central Civil Services rules and the issue related it with the Union Territory of Chandigarh. Recently, the central government has announced that the Central Civil Services will now apply to the employees of the Chandigarh administration, because we have something called as state civil services, central civil services, and the other one is all India civil services. So some civil service posts are called as central civil service. They serve only the center. So a few days before there was an issue regarding this where a cadre, a person belonging to the Bengal cadre, was shifted to the center civil services cadre, and this was causing a tussle. So I hope you remember that. So this is for a union territory now. So hereafter the central government says that the central services rule will directly will be applicable for Chandigarh because it is a union territory. So being a union territory, it is supposed to be under the center. Now we have to know certain details about Chandigarh. The union territory Chandigarh has the common capital for Punjab and Haryana. This is the capital for both Punjab and Haryana. And now because of this new implication from the central government, what are the implications going to be because of it? Now the employees' retirement age will be increased from 58 to 60. I hope you know, in state government, normally the retirement age will be 58. In central government jobs, the retirement age will be 60. So this is going to be a change now. Apart from that, women employees will now have 2 years of childcare leave from the existing 1 year. This is another a rule where in state government, women employees get 1 year leave, but here they get 2 year leave for childcare in the central government jobs. So that also will be implied hereafter for Chandigarh. And it will have other benefits like increase in child education allowance, and those with education department, their retirement age will be going to 65, like working in school, colleges, or those people, if they are going to work under the central civil services, their retirement age will be 65. So all these will be the implications if this rule is going to be applied hereafter for Chandigarh. So what is the criticism over it? Is criticism from Punjab leaders, as they say this is an encroachment on the rights of Punjab. This is a violation of the spirit of the Punjab Reorganization Act. Now this is again going to be a tussle between the state and the center. Now so far the union territory employees were covered under the Punjab Civil Services rules. Like any other state services, rules will be applied for people working in any other state government jobs. So we already know that in 1966, when Punjab was split into two as Punjab and Haryana, and some territory was also given to Himachal Pradesh as well, both states wanted Chandigarh as the capital. So the resolution was pending for a long time, and then they decided that Chandigarh will be capital for both Punjab and Haryana as well, and Chandigarh will be called as a union territory. Now as per the Punjab Reorganization Act of 1966, we know the State Reorganization Act is 1955, but this, I'm sorry, 1956, but this Punjab Reorganization Act is 1966. In our classroom, we have even made a clue for this. You can see the 6 and see when you invert it, it looks like P and P, that is Punjab was divided into 2. So we even took this as a clue for us. I hope you remember. Now, so they decided Chandigarh will be governed by the central government by the law in force in undivided Punjab will be applicable to the union territory. That is hereafter, that is after 1966, the rule for Chandigarh will be from the center. But whatever the state government rules were there before 1966 will just continue. They are not going to erode that. But in 1984, we saw that Punjab governor was made as the administrator of the city. So administrator of the city is because which territory will have a administrator? We know it is the union territories only will have administrators. So from 1984, the Punjab governor started to act also as the administrator of Chandigarh. These are some conventional details that we have to know. Now, getting more into the conventional part of Indian polity, administration of union territories is mentioned under Article 239 to 241 in Part 8 of the Constitution, because we know Part 8 deals with union territories. Now, every union territory is administered by the president through an administrator appointed by him. You would have heard words like lieutenant governor and such things. And in Puducherry, we saw that there was a tussle between the lieutenant governor, Miss Kiran Bedi, and the state government on who's exercising more power. We have seen all this, right? So far the union territory employees were conferred under the Punjab Civil Services rules, and hereafter it is going to be the Central Civil Services rules. This is what we have to keep in mind. Now, in case of a union territory, what is the power of the parliament? The parliament can make laws on any subject of the three lists, that is the state list, the union list, and the concurrent list. You have to note down that even in the state list, the parliament can make law, which is not possible in case of a state government, but only in union territories this can be done. And what is the power of the president for a union territory? The president can make regulations for the peace, progress, and good government of. So simply he can make regulations, that's all. And it is mentioned which are the Andaman Nicobar, Lakshadweep, Dadra Nagar Haveli, Damadiyu. We have not mentioned Delhi and Puducherry because they have their own legislative assembly. So president don't make regulations to these places. And the president's regulation will have the same force and effect and act of a parliament. So simply a regulation by the president will have the power of a act made by the parliament, because it's a union territory, the central has so much power on them. And a regulation made by the president has the same force and effect of an act of the parliament, as we said. So a simple regulation will have the weight of a parliament act. The next second topic is criminal procedure identification bill. So under this, recently the criminal procedure identification bill has been introduced in the Lok Sabha. So what are the key provisions of this bill? So since it is introduced recently, this could be asked in prelims, or you could very well use some of these details in any mains question related to such criminal procedure or law and order and such things. So the bill gives the provisions to repeal the Identification of Prisoners Act of 1920. So we have been until now following this 1920 Act. So we are going to repeal this 1920 Act. This 1920 Act, as it is now, it provides access to a limited category of persons whose body measurements can be taken. So if some person has been arrested for any criminal offense, only few people identified under this act can have measurements taken from them, that is body measurements. Now this law authorizes enforcement agency, that is like police and all such people, to store, analyze physical and biological samples of all convicts. So they can collect and store and analyze physical and biological samples. So the police to record, they can record signatures, handwriting, other behavioral attributes which are given under the section 53 and section 53A of the Code of Criminal Procedure Act 1973. So under this 1973 Act, as per the new bill, these details like signature, handwriting, behavioral attributes can be collected from any convict, no restriction hereafter. And any person who is arrested, who is a convict, or under preventive detention. This could be an important prelims question. So whether this bill will be applicable only for convicts or even preventive detention. Here you can see that it is applicable for convicts who are simply arrested and who are arrested under preventive detention. For all these three categories, the law will be required to provide measurements. That is, the measurements of that particular person can be taken. So if that particular person refuses or gives resistance to take measurements, now under this act, he shall be deemed to be an offense under the section 186 of IPC. So if someone is arrested and the police are trying to take this body measurements, which we saw like signatures, handwriting, or iris, fingerprint, all these details, and if that person is resisting and he is saying, no, I will not allow you to take these measurements, it will be treated as an offense. So it is mandatory that he has to cooperate with the authorities to give the measurements. Now, what are the criticisms of this bill? They say this is draconian and illegal. Draconian means like during the old stage, during the British period, these things have been followed, and now you can't be following such things. But actually, thinking on the other side, when someone is arrested, when someone has a criminal background, just having the data about them could lead to reduction in criminal activities in further times, and it will also reduce the time in judicial process also, rather than searching a person who gets into air and who escapes. To easily find them, this database could be really useful, but at the same time it has criticism that it is draconian as well. It says it is against right to privacy also. It also violates Article 20 Clause 3, which says no person accused of an offence shall be compelled to be a witness against himself. So here in this case, we know that the person has to cooperate to give the measurements. And that means it seems like they are compelled to be a witness against themselves. That is what the criticism is said to be. But we can see here that they are not said to be as a witness against themselves. It is just the data which is taken, which has to be proved later in the court that the crime has been committed. This is just the data which is being collected for further use. That's it. And at the same time, it provides for retaining the people's measurement for 75 years. So if you are arrested once and your details are taken there, once that case is over, those details are not going to be deleted, but those details will remain with the database for the next 75 years. And this is again violation of right to be forgotten, which is under Article 21 of the Constitution. So these details, you can use them very well in a mains exam. I don't think so these details could be asked in any way in prelims exam, but these are very valuable details for you for your mains exam. Take notes and save them. The next title is about Ghar Ghar Ration Yojna. So the word Ghar actually means place. In Tamil we used to say home or house. So Ghar means house. So what does it mean? Ghar Ghar Ration Yojna. So to the house doorsteps, ration things are going to be given. Ration items are going to be given. So home delivery of food grains to beneficiaries. So what they are going to do? 5 kg wheat to every individual. This detail is really important because certain schemes, it is the grain will be for the entire family, but for here it is 5 kg for every individual. Then if you have 5 members in your home, you can collect 25 kgs. That's how it is. Okay. And per month at rupees 2 per kg. So what's the price is? For 2 rupees, you can, for each kg 2 rupees, you can get 5 kg for every one single person. And the funding will be from the center. The 100% funding from the center under the NFS, that is the National Food Security Act of 2013. So who are the beneficiaries here? So the beneficiaries of Atta Dal scheme of the state government. So which is a small change made scheme from the central government's Food Security Act. And the scheme is optional. If you think you don't want to stand in the long queue and buy the ration items, you can opt for the scheme. So where for free all the items will be delivered at your home. But if you think no, I don't want people to come to my home and deliver it, you can opt out of the scheme also. And something important to be noted here is this scheme is announced by Punjab government. This is only for Punjab. Punjab government has announced such a scheme now. So some details about the National Food Security Act of 2013. Targeted public distribution system. It covers 50% of urban population and 75% of rural population with uniform entitlement of 5 kg per person per month. For 1 month, for one person they gave 5 kg of grains. But at the same time, the poorest of the poor households will continue to receive their 35 kg of food grains per household per month under the Antyodaya Anna Yojna. See here, under the Food Security Act, it is 5 kg per person. But under the Antyodaya Anna Yojana, it is 35 kgs per household. It doesn't matter how many people are there in a family. For one family, it is 35 kg of food grains. This is for the poorest of the poor people, which comes under the Antyodaya Anna Yojana scheme. Now, for a period of 3 years from the date of commencement of the act, food grains under the TDPS, that is targeted PDS, they will be made available for subsidized prices of 3 rupees, 2 rupees and 1 rupees per kg for rice, wheat and coarse grains respectively. That is 3 rupees for rice, 2 rupees for 1 kg of wheat and 1 rupees for 1 kg of coarse grains. And the identification of eligible households is to be done by the state governments and the union territories under the TDPS determined for each state. That is, the identification of people who are eligible for this National Food Security Scheme or the Antyodaya Anna Yojana scheme, it is left up to the state governments. This is an important point. And apart from this, some other benefits from the scheme are: children in the age group of 6 months to 14 years, pregnant women, lactating mothers will be entitled to meals as per the prescribed nutritional norms under the Integrated Child Development Services and midday meals schemes. So look here, for children, for pregnant women and for lactating mothers, the grains is not fixed like whether it is 5 kg or 35 kg, no, nothing. It will be under the prescribed nutritional norms. It can be changing each and every time. So under the schemes of Integrated Child Development Services scheme and the midday meals scheme. And malnutritioned children up to the age of 6 have been prescribed for higher nutritional norms. For normal children, it is under the ICDS and MDM schemes prescription. But if the child is found to be malnutritioned, the scheme is going to give more nutrition. And pregnant women and lactating mothers will receive maternity benefit of 6,000 rupees, a one-time amount of 6,000 rupees also for pregnant women and lactating mothers under this food security scheme. And what happens if this is not actually happening? Because India is known for making good laws but not executing it properly. But what if people don't get the benefit? Now, for transparency and accountability, in order to ensure transparency and accountability, provisions have been made for disclosure of records related to PDS. Every record have to be submitted. Social audits have to be made. So, records have to be submitted. Social audits have to be made, and also the act has set up a vigilance committees. So if at all you are not getting the benefits, if say a lactating mother, she is not getting that 6,000 amount entitled to her, she could go to those vigilance committees. And if that supply is not given, they have to give allowance. So if the food grains is not given due to some reason, the government will pay allowance, amount will be paid for those beneficiaries. But if the public servant or authority, they fail to comply with the relief recommended by the district grievance receival officer, penalty have to be paid by the state food commission. Penalty have to be paid by the state food commission according to the provision. So even an option for penalty is there. This could be an important prelims question, whether in under the Food Security Act, if the public servant fails to give the benefits to those beneficiaries, will there be any penalty? Yes, there is penalty, and who has to pay that? Is the State Food Commission has to pay that penalty. So this is an important point. The next topic is about dice non-order. So now in Kerala, High Court directed the administration in the state to take steps to prevent its employees from abstaining from duty. As part of the 2-day nationwide strike, the government has issued a dice non-order. That is, if you go for a strike and you don't participate and you don't come to office, simply if you don't come to office, you don't get paid for those 2 days. That's it. This is called a dice non-order. The unauthorized absence of employees participating in the strike will be treated as dies non. That is, under Rule 14A of Part 1 of Kerala Services Rule, the period of unauthorized absence of an officer on account of participation in a strike shall be treated as dies non. That is, no work, no pay. This is called as dies non. If you say, you can't say that I was participating in the strike, so that is why I didn't come to office, so pay me the salary in full. No, you can't say if this dies non order is used. The next topic is very recent topic on the minority status for Hindus. A plea has been filed to the Supreme Court seeking minority status for Hindus in the states of Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Punjab, Lakshadweep, Ladakh, Kashmir. These details you have to memorize them, because we would very easily remember Mizoram or Nagaland or Manipur or Meghalaya, but we would get confused when we are going to talk about Punjab or Arunachal Pradesh or these states. Particularly Punjab, you could get confused, so try to memorize these states. Be very careful. These are the states which are claiming for minority status for Hindus. And this plea is asking to scrap the National Commission for Minority Education Institution Act 2004. They say this act is not correct, so please scrap this act. The section 2 clause F of this act confers power to the center to identify and notify minority communities in India. So if you see, if the center has this authority, what would happen? They'll see across the country who are the minority. That's how they'll see. But in a particular state, in that state, there could be a minority community which is not a minority when the whole country is considered. For example, particularly here in the case of Hindus. So that is why they say this act have to be scrapped, because it gives the power to the center to identify the minority communities, but it has to be again with the state government. So within that state, because we have state government jobs, we have state government education institutions, there a community which is a minority, which is treated as a majority, it means they don't get their actual fundamental rights. So citing Article 30 of the Constitution, the plea says the minorities, whether based on religion or language, shall have the right to establish, administer educational institution of their choice. So, but since this Hindus are not identified as minorities, they are not able to exercise Article 30, where they can preserve their culture in the form of education. And moreover, they also say it is violation of fundamental rights, because you are denying the benefits to the real minorities, and arbitrary and unreasonable disbursements under schemes meant for them to the absolute majority infringe about the fundamental rights. Simply they say that the people who are majority there could easily infringe the minorities of their rights, and this is against Article 14, where there is no equality, and Article 21 as well. Now, what does the central government say about this? It says states too have the power to declare any religion or linguistic community, including Hindus, as minorities. So the central government says yes, the state government can declare any religious or linguistic minorities as given as minority status. And matters concerning whether followers of Hinduism, Judaism, Baha'ism can establish and administer educational institutions of their choice in the said states, and those related to these identifications as minority within the state may be considered at the state level. We don't have to think so much like religions such as Hinduism, Judaism and Baha'ism, which have not got minority status until today. A state government can declare these religions also as minorities if they feel the number of presence of these people in that particular state is very few according to the minority status, and they will have all the rights under Article 30. Of course, there's no doubt about it. And the minority welfare schemes are for unprivileged students or underprivileged students and economically weaker sections of the minority community, and are not for everyone belonging to a minority community. This is what the central government says, that is, for reservations or any schemes for minority people, it is not for all the minority people. It is within that minority community, those people who are underprivileged, they are the ones who have to enjoy these rights, and not all the people or the rich people in the minority community take away these benefits, so that the actual poor or underprivileged people within that community don't get any benefits. So this is what the central government is trying to say. Now, as of now, minority status have been given to some communities. We can see that Maharashtra government has notified Jews as a minority community within that state. So declaring minorities in the whole country, that's that's not something new. It's always been there. But within a state, Maharashtra has said Jews are a minority. And Karnataka government has notified Urdu, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, Marathi, Tulu, Lamani, Hindi, Konkani and Gujarati languages, these languages as minority languages. Sometimes UPSC could go a little bit deeper and ask difficult questions like this. Which of the following languages have been declared as minority languages in Karnataka? So it's better you know these languages. So particularly this Lamani, Hindi particularly, and Konkani, which you might think which could be a majority language there. Gujarati, see, these are very unique languages included in the list. So try to know this list. And some important conventional polity articles regarding this news. So article 29, any section of citizens having a distinct language, script or culture of its own shall have the right to conserve it. That is what article 29 is about, conserving the culture and language particularly. And it gives protection to religious and linguistic minorities. The Supreme Court says scope of this article is not necessarily restricted to minorities only, because the use of the word section of citizens in the article includes minorities and majority. This could be a very important question in prelims. Under article 29, the Supreme Court has stated that it is not only for minorities, it is also for majorities. That is what the constitution is being interpreted as. So this is very important to know. Then article 30, it says all minorities, whether based on religion or language, shall have the right to establish, administer educational institutions. If 29 is to preserve culture, 30 is to preserve the culture using educational institutions. You can start a school or a college so that your culture is being preserved. And special rights enjoyed by religious minority institutions under article 30. So article 30 clause 1 subclause A, it says such institutions enjoy right to education as a fundamental right. And more importantly, in case the property is taken over by the state due to compensation to provide to establish institutions. So that's it. So if a minority institution is being run due to some reason, the government has to take over that land, a railroad is coming there or for some purpose, they have to provide compensation in such a way that another institution is established. They cannot give compensation according to the government rule, according to the government value. I'll give you so much compensation. No, that cannot happen. You should give, the government should give the compensation which will help to re-establish that institution in another place. So much compensation has to be given. This is only for those institutions which are considered to be minority institutions. This is a special right. So under article 15 clause 5, they are not considered for reservation. So minority institutions, they have no need to give reservation for the people. And under the Right to Education Act, they are not required to provide admission to children in the age group of 6 to 14 years. Up to 25% of enrollment reserved for economically backward section of the society. Simply for other institutions, 25% of the seats have to be given for backward section, that is SC or ST. But here, if it is a minority institution, this rule is not applicable for them. The same thing which I told in article 15 clause 5. And there's a special case here in St. Stephen versus Delhi University case 1992. The Supreme Court said these institutions can have 50% of the seats reserved for minorities. If that, let us say it is a linguistic minority school, so 50% of the seats can be given to those people who belong to that language alone. So this is possible. This is what is said in the St. Stephen versus Delhi University case 1992. So I hope you remember the same year Indira Savni case was there, which said reservation cannot go beyond 50%. So here is also 50%. The year is also 1992, and it's about reservation as well. So try to remember St. Stephen's along with Indira Savni. The next topic is about National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority. The National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority has announced a hike in prices of around 800 essential drugs from this April 1. So these drugs are now included in the National Essential List of Medicine. The clause 16 of the Drugs Price Control Order 2013 allows the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority to revise the ceiling price of scheduled formulations as per the annual wholesale price index. The one word you have to remember is this: it is according to wholesale price index, not consumer price index. This is for preceding calendar year on or before 1st April. Simply, every year the NPPA will revise the ceiling price of these essential drugs based on the wholesale price index. So what is actually this National List of Essential Medicines? Under the provisions of Drug Prices Control Order 2013, only the prices of drugs that figure in the NLEM are monitored and controlled by this regulator. So the regulator, which is the regulator? The National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority. So other drugs need not be regulated by this authority. Only those drugs under NLEM have to be regulated. Essential medicines, what are they? They are actually those that satisfy the priority healthcare needs of majority of the population. So a majority of the population need this medicine, and if that medicine is too costly, people can't afford it. So those medicines will be put under this essential medicines list, where the price will be capped. You can pharmaceutical company, they cannot price that drug beyond what is being fixed by this NPPA. So about the NPPA, it was constituted in 1997 as an attached office of the Department of Pharmaceuticals, which is under the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. This could be asked, so you have to know this. And it is an independent regulator. Okay, it's an independent regulator under Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers. So it derives its power actually from the Drug Price Control Order of 1995 to 2013. So under this act, it gets the power to regulate the medicines. And that's it for today's class. We'll meet in the next class with some international affairs relations as well. We have some more content, but I want to finish the video around 35 minutes to 40 minutes. I don't want to elongate the video, and we'll see the rest of the topics in the next class. Jai Hind. If you found the video content to be useful, please share it with your friends. Let's learn and grow together. Thank you.